It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for one who is rich to enter the kingdom of God. But all things are possible for God. Imagine you are traveling through the Holy Land, and the group you're with is in Jericho. The bus stops, and before you know it, you are 10 to 12 feet in the air, bouncing to the left and to the right, as the camel you are riding on trots along. Now, to hear this saying by Jesus, the disciples are probably thinking, this guy is crazy. There is no way a camel can pass through the eye of a needle. And for myself, having ridden a camel, I would agree. There was no way that camel and I were ever going to fit through the eye of a needle. And yet, what does Jesus tell us? All things are possible with God. Do we really believe this? Do we really trust in the Lord? In the first reading from the book of wisdom, it said, I pleaded, and the spirit of wisdom came to me. I preferred her to scepter and throne, and deemed riches nothing in comparison with her. Brothers and sisters, we have just heard that knowledge and wisdom are more valuable than the riches and the power that is in this world. For if we continue to grow in wisdom and knowledge by living and learning, blessings will come to us. Just imagine the blessings that can come if that knowledge and that wisdom that we gain is about God. For no matter our age, we are never too young we are never too mature to learn more about the Lord. Now, in the second reading, we heard, no creature is concealed from him, but everything is naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we render an account. Brothers and sisters, God knows absolutely everything about us. He created us, knitting us in our mother's womb. Shouldn't we then be able to learn as much as we can about him? If God knows us more intimately than we know ourselves, I'm pretty sure we can trust him then with everything. Now, even though we have heard this probably before, we are still fallen creatures. And I'm sure, because I'm guilty of this myself, there have been times we have misplaced our trust. Whether it was in pleasure, medicine, sports, money, drugs, the government, whatever it was that we thought could make us happy, that we thought would bring us peace and security. But remember, these things are just temporary and sometimes misleading. For it is only God that can give us that true peace, that true happiness, and that true security, even in the midst of pain and suffering, if we believe and trust in him. So how do we build up our trust in the Lord? Well, as Catholics, we can begin by turning to the Lord in prayer. And if we feel like we don't know how to pray, or maybe what even prayer is, we are in luck. The Catechism of the Catholic Church has a whole section dedicated just to prayer. And in that section, there is a quote from St. Therese of Lisieux, where she says, "For me, prayer is a surge of the heart. It is a simple look toward heaven. It is a cry of recognition and of love, embracing both trial and joy." St. John Damascene also is quoted here saying, "Prayer is the raising of one's mind and heart to God, or the requesting of good things from God." Folks, just as for couples and friendships, they are built by spending time with each other. And we are called then to do the same, to spend that time in prayer with the Lord, whether it's 10 minutes a day, whether it's 5 hours a day. It doesn't matter. It has to be, though, the top priority of each and every one of our days. The gospel even tells us then other ways we can continue to build up this trust in God. For Jesus reminds the man about following the commandments. And the young man says, I have followed these from my youth. Now, I'm sure we all know the 10 Commandments, but how well do we follow them? We profess in the Creed that we believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. But how well do we actually understand the teachings of Holy Mother Church? We can see here that by following the teachings of God that He gives us through the Scriptures and through His church, we can continue to build that trust in Him. Jesus also mentions in our gospel to go and sell what you have, give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. Brothers and sisters, when we fast and detach ourselves from the things of this world, and I don't mean fasting from everything, but from the things that can cause us to sin, or from the material things that we think we have to have. Once we do that and fast from these things, we will start to have a clearer vision. We will start to see the world with a Catholic lens. And yes, we should be helping the poor, and with that, also the church. This way, she too can continue her mission of helping the poor as well. Giving both monetarily, if we can, but also in giving of our time and our talents to help build up the church of God and to bring more and more people into her. But in giving to the poor, we also need to remember those who might be even in our own families, our neighborhoods, our communities, those who are spiritually poor, those who have never heard of Jesus, or those who do not believe in the Eucharist and His sacraments, or those who have misplaced their trust in something of this world instead of in God. So finally, brothers and sisters, we see that by prayer and growing and learning about the Lord, and by fasting and detachment and almsgiving, we can build up our love and trust in God. Building a trust that is the true treasure of heaven. Building a trust that will allow us to follow God and do His will. Building a trust that will even allow the camel we are riding on to pass through the eye of a needle. For all things are possible for those who trust in God.